kind of looks like it's working. Let's just say it's working for now. What is happening to everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. So I gotta ask, at this stage of the game, is Mopar irrelevant? That's really the thing that I want to explore a little bit. I thought about doing a standalone video and I just could not get the video to work. I couldn't. Every time I would start talking about one point, another point would jump into my head. So live channel, live show, that's where we're at with this. You know, I gotta tell you, I don't want to say that it is. There's a lot of really good things about the Mopar offerings, although they're all basically going away. There's a lot of great things to chat about. But one of the hardest things for me to stomach are the hot rods are going away. And really, with a brand like Dodge, that is the heart and soul of a company. You can't let that happen. You know, what would Chevrolet be without a Corvette? What would Ford be without a Mustang? Dodge doesn't have a thing that people are really getting excited about. There's not a longing or a yearning for a Dodge product right now. And well, that also bleeds into Ram. There is no Plymouth or Chrysler really to talk about at this stage of the game. So I guess the point that I'm getting to is this. Is Mopar, Dodge in general obsolete? I get the Jeep thing, but there's nothing cool from Jeep. Yeah, well, what about the 392 Wrangler? What about it? It's a $90,000 thing. There's nothing cool in Jeep, period, at this stage of the game. There's nothing cool from Dodge, and frankly, my boys, there's nothing really to look forward to with Ram. So I'm kind of confused. How is it that this brand is going to survive the next 5-10 years without some type of a soul bearer for the brand? And I mean all of Mopar. That's why I'm asking, is Mopar now becoming obsolete? But I don't want you to take it as obsolete is bad. Obsolete is not a bad word. People misunderstand what the word means. Let me give you an example. P-51 Mustang airplane is obsolete, but it's cool as hell. It's amazing to look at. Would be amazing to get the opportunity to actually pilot one of those things. It's kick ass in every way that something can be kick ass, but for the function that it was designed for, it's pretty much obsolete. So it just means that it's not fit for the task of the modern environment, which is kind of where Mopar is. They can't get an engine that'll work right for the Jeep, at least not one that folks want to gravitate towards. And I mean any of the Jeeps. Dodge is going to bring to the party some EV that nobody asked for, and nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to actually buy. I don't care what kind of doodads, gadgets, and gizmos that, oh yeah, direct connection, remember them? Yeah, I don't care what they offer up. It's still just an EV, guys, and a lot of people don't want that. The 6-cylinder, it feels like a round peg in a square hole. So, it might be fast. It had better do something cool. There better be upgrades available for it, because that'll be the only thing that's out there that'll have people at least getting somewhat worked up over that brand, if at all. And that's even assuming that the transmission can manage the power and that the engine itself doesn't pop and there aren't any issues when it comes to actually trying to pour the coal to one of those things. I did a previous video talking about the limitations of the standard output engine. A lot of that had to do with transmission limitations, but we'll see. Nobody's out there testing that transmission because nobody out there is messing around or playing with any type of standalone that I'm aware of, any type of piggyback that I'm aware of for the Hurricane 6. Nobody is really bothered to even put one on a dyno that I could find, although I didn't really go looking too hard for that. But nobody's really looking for what they can get out of those trucks. And, you know, good buddy of mine, Matt over at Moe's Performance. Love me some Matt. Love me some Moe's Performance. If anybody has done the most work with a Ram platform, it's been Moe's. And, well, Dodge, Ram, I should say, does not make a single cab short bed pickup truck. They used to, and I think you may, up to some point, could still get a regular cab short bed classic body style. I think you could even get one in 4-wheel drive. That's the makings for a hot rod right there, but we don't have access to that, so that's done. Basically, there's no reason to get worked up or excited about anything Stellantis or anything that's hovering around that brand. So I got to ask you, how does that make you feel? I mean, it's cool to have the last of the V8s, but guys, I got to tell you, I don't know that for a lot of folks that's going to be good enough. The 6-cylinder, if it comes out and it's great, well, it had better well be for what it's got to, what shoes it's got to fill. I should kind of preface this by saying I'm really not even talking about the Hellcat variants right now because, well, let's talk about them since I just mentioned them. They're okay. They're fit for purpose, but you got to have specialized tires and a specialized track to really be able to get the most out of those things. They only really start to become interesting between, I would say, 65 and 130 miles an hour. It's a pretty wide window, but the reality is that you're not going to roll race them. They're pretty cool and they're awesome once you start to modify them, but well, hell, that platform is gone and it doesn't look like we're going to get that back. Unless there can be some type of a change within the governing bodies that dictate what is and what isn't supposed to be acceptable for fuel economy. Vote accordingly, boys, for the rest of your lives. Just saying, it's not looking all that swell. But is it obsolete? I got to say, yeah, it's pretty much obsolete. A lot of folks are moving away from Mopar, and there's even more folks that are taking a look at the proposition of any new cars, I should say, from Mopar, and they're not really all that excited about them. You'll still see people that'll get real worked up over Hellcats and Scat Packs and hell, even RTs on the used market, but a lot of those cars are coming up on their second and now even third owner. Might not be too long. You have to worry about too many of those on the street anyway. So with that being said, what would you be in the market to buy? What kind of car would you be in the market for? You know, we talk about this quite a bit, and I've mentioned this many times as I really don't even care to try to venture a guess as how many times I've mentioned this, but the right engine with the right platform would be a sure thing, absolute no-brainer type of a sales car. I don't understand what Dodge's point is with this Charger thing. And what I would hate to see is a huge investment, nothing but EVs to start this thing out, only to have wait a minute. Wasn't there talk about a government bailout of Stellantis anyway? Seems like all of these policies are doing nothing more than driving companies out of business. And that's almost what it feels like. So I just can't wrap my head around what the landscape with Stellantis is going to look like and what it's going to look like really for the next 10 to 20 years. Is it going to be even around then? Who knows? Anyway, let me check in with you guys. First and foremost, Jason's in. What up? Zero's in. The man, the myth, the legend. Thank you for the kind words. Hard Rock is in. Marco is in. Ryan, Sub Professor, nothing new from Mopar, and Direct Connection is suffering. I don't know what they can do to save it. You know, I tell you what. And again, the advice is free. Direct Connection. Figure out a way to make the Sensed E85 operating system software work as a plug-and-play deal for Hellcats. You need an extra fuel pump? Cool, sell it as a kit. I don't care if it costs $2,500. Here's your fuel hat. Boop. Here's your E85 Sense controller. Boop. Here's your the logic for your blending of the E85 so that you have a varying timing curve based on E85. It can be either binary. In other words, up to a certain level, you get gasoline, and then after that level, you get E85 timing or whatever. Doesn't matter. The fueling, as long as it's the same, hell, keep timing where it is. It doesn't matter to me. But make that work. The rest of it, I don't care about. I don't care about what you can do with your electric depreciation device. That's all that car is going to be. Have you seen what used Teslas are going for? It's not pretty, guys. Anyway, oh, Ryan, yes, sir. F4 Phantom is obsolete, but still awesome. Absolutely. One of the best sounding jets ever. Southern Indiana's in. Good evening. Hard Rock, same conversation, different year. Until Dodge gets purchased by an enthusiast mining company, they will keep sinking like the Titanic. Yeah, it's true. Sovereign is in. Hey, B, what's up, folks? Got the flex with the bald guy in the shades. I like it. Rusty's in. Hey, B, how's it going? Going good, Rusty. DM, hello, chat friends. Hello, DM. Sovereign saying, since the Challenger's out of production, my enthusiasm with Dodge has faded. Indeed. Hard Rock saying, Chevy needs to do a new Chevelle NA with a big block V8. That would be fun. I would take pretty much anything cool at this point. I just don't like that. You know, the thing about the Charger is if the front end had a different treatment, I would be all in on that car. I hope y'all know that. Somebody is going to come out with a set of fenders, a hood, and a grill that's going to mimic a 68 Charger, and it's going to sell like hotcakes for that thing. Because that's what that car needs. It needs a different front end treatment. That thing that they're putting on the front is too Chimera-ish. Like, you've got everything up to the A-pillar, looking at it from the ass forward, looks good. Even though the C-pillar is about as wide as the sail on the freaking Mayflower, you've got, but everything from the A-pillar forward doesn't match the rest of the car. It just, golly, who freaking put that thing together? It's not good. And I'll even say this, with that type of front end treatment, it's a surefire winner. With a stock front end treatment, it doesn't look good. Sovereign said, I'm still interested to see what the Hurricane i6 HO can do, but it doesn't replace the emptiness of the Challenger going bye-bye. Indeed. Rusty's saying, building a hell of a 318 Challenger, have the cam at a grinding company, got the block at the machine shop to be decked and bored 30 over with KB pistons. Nice. And I have the torque converter at a shop. Very cool. 318s are fun builds. Ain't a damn thing wrong with 318s. My uncle had a pickup truck with a 318 that would absolutely boil tires. It's a killer little combination. Oh, hang on. Oh, to get a 5, are you saying 5,000 stall? That'd be a hell of a converter. W2 head, single plane. Holly, HP 750. X is saying, serious question. With these new performance hybrid cars like the E-Ray Corvette and new hybrid 911, would you at all be interested in an updated 5.7 and 6.4 with a performance hybrid battery? Yeah, in fact, it's something that I had been saying for a long time. And it's something that I didn't quite understand. The way that you would make it work, it's pretty easy. And you don't have to have a humongous battery pack to do it, and it doesn't have to be ultra efficient either. Lithium ferrous Li-Fi batteries, run it off of, a typical 400 volt system. And I don't see why that would be a big deal. Something like a 40 kilowatt battery with a pancake motor in between the torque converter and the transmission. And in essence, it can run independently. It can run in concurrently with the engine. But that is how all of the other really good hybrid systems operate. You've got, say, 40 miles, 50 miles max of a pure electric range. You get regen on D-cell if you want it. You've got the ability to charge the thing while you're going down the road. And as far as acceleration goes, if you would really want it to be all-wheel drive with the way that the electric motors hit, but for the first half of the power band of the engine, you've got a huge boost of torque down low to get you accelerating. It's really good stuff. I mean, when you look at it from that aspect, stable battery pack, high voltage, pancake motor, it fits everything. It's an augmented internal combustion engine setup. I think it's great. I don't see a problem with it. So for the folks that there's some guys that were going, it's cheating, it's whatever. It's like, look, man, it may be, but there's room for it out there. And there's a bit of a versatility thing that you can get out of it too, with the ability to have, say, 40 or 50 miles of just pure electric range. So, I mean, it's not bad. So, anyway, Mark, thank you very much. Hey, just passing through, can't stay for the whole stream on East Coast time until I'm back home in Chicago. Man, I appreciate that very much, Mark. Thank you so much. Oh, bear with me. But thank you very much, Mark. Let's see. Excuse me. New Charger definitely needs the original front clip. Indeed. Ryan said we need to crowdfund Plymouth and do a few great cars like the old lasers. I tell you what, that's another thing. Why aren't cars like that able to come back? I mean, I get it. There's a safety aspect to it and all of that. But, yeah, why can't we get, if they want smaller cars, you can make a smaller car that's badass. I don't, it doesn't always have to fall within a mold. If you can make a car that is small, gets great gas mileage, fun to drive, and is inexpensive to both build and maintain, you're going to have a surefire winner on your hands every time. Sovereign saying the new Charger needs to resemble the B-body. Absolutely right. Well, that's the thing. It does have the same look it's got the same excitement as a rental because it looks like a rental car. That's the other thing. I just can't, I can't get it in my head. I'm trying to envision this car with a different set of wheels and tires and a different stance and everything else. And I want that car, right? So I'm doing everything in my head to try to find something cool about it. And I'm just, golly, man, I just can't sink my claws into it. 355 rear gear, uh, trick flow heads, good set of heads. There you go. Let's top it off with a high rise. It'll run good. Martin saying, Ian Professor, do you have any data or insights on 87 versus premium gas in a 5.7? Just filled my tank up with 94 for the first time in a while, and my car feels like an angry beast woken up from a nap. Yeah, so I don't care what it says in any book, all of the Hemis need a minimum of 89 octane to run worth a darn. I can tell you that I'll put it to you like this. Buffy, I notice a difference with Buffy if I run 87 octane in that truck. But only if I'm really leaning on it. But there is certainly a difference. And if I run premium, it runs even better still. So, any engine with 10.5 to 1 compression is going to benefit from some better octane for sure. It's just that it will survive on 87, but it does not thrive on 87 octane. So I'm saying my take on hybrid, though, more complex, meaning higher chance of something failing and greater expense to fix it. That's true. But luckily, the technology is pretty tried and true, and it's fairly simple, albeit not... it's fairly, rather we rephrase that, it's fairly uncomplicated, although not exactly simple in its execution. There's a lot of things that do have to work correctly, but hey, look at the bright side. I mean, there are opportunities to augment an internal combustion engine outside of boost, and there's another thing. That's another thing. The good thing about hybrid is that in a power enriched situation, you're not relying on an overly rich fuel mixture to make power the way that a small engine with boost has to. Larger engine, you tip into the throttle, there's more available torque without getting outside of a knock threshold because of cylinder pressure. Augment that with an electric motor, and it's more efficient and it's better for fuel economy all the way around. In other driving scenarios other than just starting and stopping and things like that. So there are some upgrades or some upsides to that kind of an upgrade. Oh yeah, Hard Rock talking about the lithium battery for the Scat. So I actually kind of went through 2 lithium batteries, and I mean, if I were to do it again, for racing purposes only, maybe, for something that is going to be a race car and that you're going to have a battery tender on all the time, yeah, okay, go for it. But moving forward, yeah, I probably wouldn't go through the headache of trying to mess with one again. It's nice to save the weight, but Roy's saying B's 100% on the ball. This electric craze. This is not the Dodge I fell in love with. Same. Hard Rock said it'd be sweet, only about 7 pounds. Yeah, I mean it is nice to have, and when they're working, they're absolutely amazing. Because they have such high cold cranking amps. I mean, wintertime, it just whips that thing to life. But, I don't know. I haven't really even thought about that in a while. I was thinking about, the only time I thought about it, I was going to put one into Whitey, the F-150, and just ended up not doing it. Warmed saying Stellantis will let the brand die. I unfortunately have to agree with you on that. I wouldn't doubt it. Oh, Sovereign's hanging out with Hard Rock. The new EV weight is off the charts. That is a significant issue. Oh, Sovereign's hanging out with Hard Rock. Degradation, yes. Hard Rock saying new cars need to look like old ones, not like something from Star Wars. What, you don't like that Cybertruck? Mohammed saying vote Trump. Yeah. Oh, what just happened there? Oh, something weird just happened here. Here we go. Oh, Sovereign, yeah, talking about manufacture dates on batteries. Yep. Golly, this thing is freaking out. I don't know why my feed keeps doing that. So when you have to stay with an SLA battery for your car, that's what I'll do. Well, and Hard Rock saying, I think the entire enthusiast community would be happier with more choices. How about just give me a choice? You know, and again, put an engine together that people are actually asking for, not shoving an engine down people's throats. And this is another thing. Where the hell were all of these Hurricane Turbo 6 fans about a year ago, when I was the one saying, look, Hurricane Turbo 6 might be pretty good? Nobody was a big fan of that thing then. And I was saying, look, you know, after I drove that, the HO variant and the Grand Wagoneer, 6,500 pound rig, they're saying, I came back saying, look, that thing is a monster. And then I post up, look, man, I drove one and it wasn't all that great. You just don't like it because it's not a V8. It's not a V8. It's better. It's so much better. And I'm going, who the frick are you? And where the hell were you 6 or 8, 9, 10 months ago? Anyway, kind of funny. But the point of that is, look, I mean, a smaller displacement Coyote-esque, you know, something around 5.5 liters would have been A-okay. And, fun fact, the Hurricane 6-cylinder engines, yeah, they're not doing that great in terms of fuel economy. Meanwhile, Buffy nails down 18.5 to 19 on average. Whitey is 18.1, 18.2 or something like that, since I've been driving that thing for work a little bit more often. So that's freaking way better than what some folks are getting out of that Hurricane. So help me to understand how an engine that has worse fuel economy is better for the environment. Like, this is what happens when you have people that are making decisions that don't have the foggiest idea of how the apparatus that they are trying to lord over operates, how it functions. This is when hearsay and what people think they know what they're talking about, instead of actually knowing what they're talking about, when they get into making rules and laws and things like that, that's when you've got yourself a problem. It's absolutely infuriating for me. I mean, all you got to do is drive one. You don't have to be an expert in the field. Spend a month with one of these things. Take a look at how much gas you burned. It's pretty easy. Oh, Rusty. Well, so here's the thing, talking about those batteries. So my dad used to work at Motorsport Ranch, and the protocol for EVs on track, it's pretty simple. In the event of rapid thermal decomposition, which is technically what's going on there, in the event of rapid thermal decomposition, the driver is to immediately bring the vehicle outside the track if possible. In other words, to the outside, not to the inside of the racing surface. Exit the vehicle as quickly as possible, and then that's it. There will be no attempt to try to extinguish the fire. There will be no attempt to try to do anything with that thing until it is burned itself completely out. It only happened a few times, but they had to put a protocol in place because when the fire department found out that they were allowing EVs on track, they had to let the people at the track know how you deal with that type of a fire. And there's just no facility available to pump that much water on one of those things. And by the way, water doesn't extinguish the fire. The water that you're spraying around that vehicle is just keeping a freaking grass fire from blasting out and taking, everything out around it. That's the only reason why you bring the hoses over there. You're not trying to put the car out. In fact, getting that thing wet may do more harm than good. So that's exactly the protocol for those things. And believe me, when they go off, it looks like a truckload of Roman candles going off all at the same time. It's not a good thing. Sovereign yuck to the Cybertruck. All right, saying I don't like it, but it's not a V8. I get it. Max saying Ram sales have been on a major decline. I suspect from these outlandish prices more than for no V8 option. Well, there is that. Guys, I bought the F-150 and I went to a Dodge dealership to drive one of the one of these new trucks. I drove my truck there, and if that new Hurricane 6 was going to completely outperform my Coyote truck, I was going to buy one, and I would have taken the bath. That'd have been twice on trucks, by the way. If the performance would have been there, I would have jumped all over it. Guys, it wasn't. And then I was educated on the fact, and I had to do some looking up and talk to some folks and get a better understanding of this. But yeah, that Hurricane 6 will not make advertised power on 87 octane. In fact, hell, it may not even make advertised power on 89 octane. It may actually need 91 octane to make real, honest to goodness advertised horsepower numbers. Kind of hard to get behind that, but that's what it is, right? So, but the same can be said about the Coyote. It's just that the Coyote, when it's on a tank of 93 octane, it's outperforming its numbers. And then you can also run it on E85, where it then, again, even more so outperforms its own numbers. Keep in mind, that truck has run a 1330 at 103 miles an hour or something like that. I mean, it's legit quick. So, now it won't do that in the heat, but it will run like a 1380, 1390 in the heat. Guys, what I don't see... Let me back this up. You won't see the Rams doing quarter mile stuff like that because they should hit their speed limiter before they hit the end of the quarter mile. But you can't tune them. HP Tuners doesn't have support for that thing yet. So there's that. Sovereign saying I get about 20 with my 3.5 V6. Yep. The best I've ever been able to knock down in Buffy, and this is when my boss and I were kind of having a bit of a competition. I was able to get an average of 26 on the highway, but it was real flat, and I held it right at 64 miles per hour. So, yeah, I was able to do it, but I was riding the MDS hard on that truck. Hard Rock say if I ever buy another SUV, it'd be a Trackhawk, a very good one to get. Yeah. No, I remember Hard Rock. Yeah, you can get really good numbers out of these cars, no doubt about it. So, yeah, EV fires are very difficult to put out. That is correct. Well, remember, it's a lithium battery. Lithium reacts rather excitedly with water, so there is that. One of those byproducts is hydrogen that then wants to immediately reoxygenate. Which is to say, you remember that water is just hydrogen ash, okay? Because the oxidization of hydrogen gives you water. H2O when you oxygenate hydrogen. So, yeah, that's just another way you can see it. Anytime something is oxygenated, it's burnt. So rust, yes, that's basically burnt metal. It's just very slow at a very low temperature, but it is burning nonetheless. And so, that's one of the things that I've tried to, explain to guys. Look, if you're into EVs, that's great. But if you get rapid thermal decomposition situation take place, it is an all-consuming process when it starts, and it's not good. Someone saying, "Yep, California." I remember California real good. I lived there for quite a while. And about 10% ethanol. Ours down here is running between 8 and 12. I'm saying 26 is good. 26, yeah, but that was really tough to get. Sorry, lithium plus water equals boom. Yes, it does. Sorry, thermal runaway equals freight train that cannot be stopped. No, it can't. It's kind of crazy how bad that it can be. Because when those things go off, I mean, guys, you've seen the videos. I mean, you've seen what it looks like when those things go out of control. It's not pretty. And the problem is it's not pretty in a lot of different ways. Number one, you can't put the fire out realistically. So there's that. It burns at a significantly hotter temperature than a gasoline fire would. But all of the caustic stuff that's released when it's burned, that's not good. So there's an environmental aspect to this. It's just in an effort to make it better, they've made it worse. Again, I am not hating on EVs. I actually really like them, and I like them for certain situations. I like them for certain circumstances. I think in some areas they can be superior, especially with a hybrid setup that is where you have some kind of a fueled engine that is simply there to charge batteries and run a generator that then powers the electric motors, kind of like a freight train does. I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever. But quit trying to sell it as, oh my God, this is the next thing. This is the thing that bothers me too. Okay, so what people will say is that, oh, well, the EV is better for the environment. It doesn't burn fossil fuels. Well, it kind of does. But nobody wants to talk about that. All you do with an EV, all you're doing with an EV is you're outsourcing the pollution to somewhere else geographically. It's taking the pollution from a local area to a centralized processing area, if you will. Okay. But either way, you're burning coal, gasoline, diesel fuel in the part of generators, as well as natural gas, all these other fossil fuels. But you can also get your electricity from hydrothermal. You can get it from wind. You can get it from other sources that are not fossil fuel related. Okay, fine. But the problem is that that's few and far between. Nuclear is another one. Okay, great. So that's few and far between. That makes up such a small percentage of the electrical grid, it doesn't really matter. And so what I tried to tell somebody about this in a conversation, I said, look, your car runs on coal. It runs on fossil fuel. Well, no, it doesn't. I said, okay, well, look, let me just put it to you like this. What if cars ran on kittens? Okay? You had to put like 15 pounds worth of kittens in your tank to get a week's worth of travel. All right? Well, that would be a problem. But at your electricity grid, well, that they just took tons of kittens and That's how they got the power over there. Well, you'd be appalled by that. They're killing kittens. Yeah, it's the same thing. It runs on kittens either way. You can't tell me that it doesn't. So don't, that's the whole thing, is that you can't politicize a power plant. It's silly, it's dumb, and it reeks of ignorance. And so for me, whenever I hear that, they have their place, EVs are awesome, they're a fun novelty. I think that's an amazing part of them too. Love the fact that they can accelerate like they do. Yay, fun. Okay, let's put our toy back in the toy box, get in our pickup truck, and get our asses back to work. So anyway, let me catch back up with you guys. Hang on. Oh, yeah, lithium batteries are ridiculously expensive. Hard Rock saying, I'll stick with my diehard AGM. Good battery. So I'm saying I do a lot with these cells with my flashlight, so owning a lot of these cells is a potential fire risk, but proper care and education on how to use them and check them. Absolutely, got to check your balance leads. Saying I have equipment that will check the internal resistance of the cells to check for shorts or the potential for dendrite formations that cause shorts and fires. If you guys don't know what a dendrite is, this is kind of funny. When you put cells together, these little hairs will start to develop, and it literally is trying to, the hairs are trying to arc across the battery. It's kind of a weird thing. It's a weird the quirk of these types of batteries. And yeah, over time, they will literally short themselves out because of that. It's kind of an interesting thing. Hard Rock saying strip mining. Yep. The dendrites form in the gel. There he is. Dendrites form in the jelly roll of the core that's packed in the cell. Dendrites can form and puncture the separators, causing a short and thermal runaway. That is correct. So you got to check your cells. That is 100% correct. But that's kind of what you're up against, right? I mean, that's realistically, you're not going to see long-term. Yeah, the other messed up thing about this is that you're not going to see a long-term solution anytime real soon to all of these electric cars that are hitting the streets. The problem that I see is that there are means to recycle some of these batteries, but what it takes to recycle, the process of recycling these batteries is horrific for the environment. Like, think of the chemicals that are in a battery, and then think of what it would take chemically to deconstruct that thing that we're talking about here. Think about that for a minute. What do you do with a car? What do you do with a car when you want to recycle it? Okay, well, you take the gas out of it and you go burn that in your lawnmower. The oil can be recycled. The coolant can be reused or recycled. And then you take the component parts and you melt them or grind them and you use them for something else. Super easy, and it's very direct line of sight to what you're working on. Electrical components can be smelted down, or the parts can simply be reused and moved on to somebody who's restoring or repairing another vehicle. But when it comes to an electrical thing, like, I don't know, the battery, and that's really all we're talking about here, yeah. Damn it. How do you recycle something like that? You don't just take it apart. You don't take apart your battery pack here. Oh, darn it, the gizmo trader went wrong. Let's go ahead and swap that out, put in another one, and we're good to go. Doesn't work like that. You've got to do so. It's pretty gross what you have to do to that battery to break it down. And if people don't realize that, they don't think about that. It's just they're so myopic that they cannot see past the nose on their face, and that is the embarrassing part of it, because those of us that are in the know, we see this and you just want to throw up looking at these morons. Like, you guys were never taught critical thinking, and it shows big time. You didn't think this through, and now you've made your bed, you're gonna have to sleep in it. I don't know, like I say, vote accordingly. Donald Powers in. Good evening, Mr. B. Good evening, Donald. All right, whatever happened with Stormy? Stormy was traded in on a Whitey, the F-150. Stormy was starting to have some electrical issues, and I really didn't want to mess with that thing anymore. The e-torque system was real intrusive on that truck. It was kind of weird, and I just got to a point with it where I was like, nah, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. So got the F-150 and have been real happy with that decision. Far better build quality than the Ram was. Sovereign saying, we need safer battery chemistries. Some are being worked on, but the trade-off is lower energy density, and that can be a negative because it will require more cells, and that means more weight. Well, listen, that's okay if that's the case. I think we've seen what high energy density can get us. And until we can get to a high energy density without the risk of very warm failures, I think that's really, I mean, lithium ferrous is not that much less energy dense than lithium polymer, and it does extremely well with stability. So, and that stability meaning that it is not susceptible to rapid thermal decay. It doesn't blow up as easily with impact. Now, granted, yes, it has a lower energy density. I think it's 3.4 versus 3.8 volts per cell. That's okay. I'll take the lower energy density if it means that, you know, the battery pack's going to be 10% larger and 10% heavier. Okay, that's just a portion of the weight of the vehicle, but it's going to be safer. And that type of battery technology, if my memory serves me correctly, is more easily deconstructed in the recycling process. So it's better all the way around. Look, you're not going to get an infinite number out of these things. You're not going to get a cell that's going to be 5,000 volts per cell. It doesn't work like that. You know, at some point you reach a limit. That's the way that it is. There is no singularity. The singularity represents a thought experiment. So with that, you've got to figure that there's going to be a point in time where, you know, somebody goes, look, we just need to stick with this one battery technology and we'll figure it out on the back end as far as, you know, how to make this the most efficient, the most cost effective, the most easily renewed type of a technology that's out there. Phenomenal. And while y'all are trying to figure that stuff out, I'll be over here playing with motorcycles and old hot rods. How about that? And let those eggheads figure that stuff out. Yeah, it's tough to beat. Yeah, it is, but yeah. Don's saying they've come up with a shredder submerged that helps with the recycling of lithium batteries. Yeah, but what's it submerged in? And what's left after it? It's gross, man. There was a guy I was watching. This was a few years ago. So my involvement mentally with this is a little somewhat dated, not too dated, but even this guy was going, I don't know how we're supposed to do this and not have vats of toxic waste afterwards. Oh, the Lifeys, yeah, they're way more resilient. But yeah, I think it's charge voltage 3.6 while lithium ion. So yeah, I think you can. So a LiPo if yeah, I think you might be right about it. Lipo max is 4.2, rated at 3.8, and I think Lifey maybe 3.6 or 3.8 overcharged. So it's not that much different. There is a difference though, but I'll take it. Hardrock saying the Triton V10 in my Super Duty was bulletproof. The only issues I had with that truck was the brake calipers. Yeah, those older Fords did have issues with that. That's another good point. The Lifeys have a lot more charge cycles. Yes, they do. Great batteries. I mean, I don't see a reason. That's another thing. Why? They're just run a Lifey battery for the car battery. They would not fail. They just don't. They don't fail like that anyway. At least not to my knowledge. Also, my understanding is they do better in with thermal cycling. It's just better all the way around. You go, well, it's a little bit. It's not as power dense. It doesn't have to be as power dense. It just has to be good enough. This is another thing. You know, it happens to happen a lot with commodity style products when you have a product that is functionally A-OK. And then somebody comes along with something that's better. But it's a little bit more expensive. But better in this case is only in the eyes of the beholder. In other words, it's better, but it's not functionally better. Lipo has, or you know, any of the higher end lithium batteries have a higher specific density. Let's say it's 15% lighter. Make it a real attractive number. Okay, but it's more expensive, or it's, you know, you don't have as many cycles and all this other stuff. You can only sell quality when the quality is a quality that somebody is looking for in that product. And in this case, a Lifey battery does everything you need it to do. You could drop it off a cliff and probably not worry about it when it hits the ground. It probably would work just fine. But more to the point, you're not going to have to worry about a lot of the downstream things. And you can still hold your head up high and not have to lie to yourself about what the back end of the life cycle of that particular component is going to look like when you try to recycle, upcycle, downcycle, whatever that product. Rusty's saying, you guys can have the electric stuff and I'll keep my no computer 4-barrel Challenger. You know, it's funny you mentioned that. There is a Dart. And my wife and I pass this thing fairly regularly at a car lot that I am reluctant to go in there and ask the guy if he wants. I think it's for sale. I don't know of anybody that wants it. I think it's a 6-cylinder car. But it's a black Dart, and there is a part of me, I'm not kidding, there is a part of me that would love to just go, look, dude, I'm going to go find me a 5.7, pull a 5.7 out of a truck, HP 70 with a 373 rear end in a Dana 60 back there, and just build a little monster out of that car. Because there's parts out there to do it, and there's operating systems that are easy. That Terminator X will run that with no issues. Run the truck setup and run a truck intake on it, and just have a little, you know, by the time I'm done with it, about a 500 horsepower 5.7 in that thing, and just absolutely rip some heads off with that little car with about $1.50 of nitrous on it. Be a fun car. Sovereign, I don't know why we're not using that battery. It seems like the only one that I would personally go to. Oh, the EMP blast, yeah. I tell you what, here's what I would like. Give me an old school Challenger, but let me figure out a way to bolt up that HP 70 or HP 90 transmission to it. Rusty's saying, do it, do it. Yeah. Um, if I could budget it right now, I probably would. Um, but yeah, there was a couple of cars that I really would like to have gotten my hands on. But I've always liked darts. I've always liked dusters. I've always liked Aspens. So I don't know. You never know. The stars align, and who knows what? Who knows what the future holds? We'll see. Sovereign saying cars are getting more and more complex and relying on computers. The charm of the good old analog with the carbon distributor cannot be matched. Yeah. I mean, there's times when I miss Sierra, and I actually tune that thing to perfection, just using the old wideband. And the ABS2 carb, I actually was better than some fuel injected setups I've messed with. So it can absolutely be done, and it can be done in a way that is extremely efficient, extremely powerful, very responsive. Kind of hard to complain. Rusty's hanging out with Sovereign. Yeah, I just want a simple, fun car. That's the thing. I mean, I wouldn't. The other build that I would do for a car like that be a very simple build on a 360 and build a 408. And I mean, I would do 408, but keep a mechanical fan. I would do probably a set of trick flow heads, dual plane, probably RPM air gap intake, HP, Holley HP 750. And just a hydraulic roller, and something on probably 108 lobe separation angle. It's a good old school hot rod. Like I say, 430 horse 408, 440 horse 408. Something that'll run on pump gas, nice and happy. Man, if you can bolt up, any kind of an overdrive transmission, just put a gear vendors on the back of it, would be a sweet little ride. Hard Rock, yeah, they do. Talking about darts are badass, they mod great. Yes, they do. Oh, Sovereign, yeah, take an old Beetle. So there were guys down here in Houston. Back in the day, there was a group of guys with Beetles that were fast as hell on the street. I know for a fact that two of them ran mid to high 11s at the drag strip, but they would do that on the street too, and they would pull the front tires off the ground. And they were straight up V-dubs too. They weren't, like some kind of a Porsche swap or anything like that. They were legit quick. Sovereign saying, yep, straight up another analog. Yeah, you never know. Oh, Rusty, well, will the A904 hold up? Probably not. I mean, it'll hold up for a while, and if you're running stock tires, the 904 will probably be okay. Just don't put a set of drag radials or anything like that. Just use the 904 for what it was meant to do, which is to convert loud noises from one end of the car to tire smoke on the other end. Don't ask too much of it, and I think you'll be okay. But if you want to start getting a little bit more aggressive with it, just swap it over to a 727. If you're cool with having a 3-speed, that would be my way to go. Oh. Stripping head bolts, no fun. Yeah. But yeah, there was some fast stuff back in the day with the bugs. But well, guys, listen, I gotta wrap it up because we're about to hit an hour. But hey, listen, y'all, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for hanging out. Absolutely would not do this without you. Hang on just a second. Let me scroll back over here. But no, absolutely would not do this without you. Love all of y'all guys. Look, Mark, thank you so very much for the contribution to the cause. But guys, listen, thank y'all very much. Get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. And with that, that's a wrap. We'll catch you on the next one. Adios.